Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Screams from the Basement podcast.
This is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including recent watches, horror news, collectibles, and more.
Hey, I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Casey the Killer Kelderman.
And I'm Sam the Damn Blends.
Yeah, we're bringing it back.
And let's get screaming. Dang it, we got so excited about bringing back the nicknames.
The nicknames, they're coming back. We're going to keep them.
Yeah.
We lost them for some reason. Now we're going to bring them back.
Yeah, why'd we ever lose them?
Because we started a new show, and it was like...
Do we want to go super cheesy with this one? And then we decided eventually, like, that's just who we are.
And now we're I don't know, what, 10 months into this? So yeah, 10 months into this. Yeah.
Holy crap, yeah.
We're going to get real cheesy with it.
Yeah, this is a pretty cheesy episode, I feel like.
Oh, this might be the biggest cheese of all the cheeses.
Yeah. It's like a blue cheese. It's a little moldy. Okay. You know?
All cheese is moldy, though.
Got a musky scent to it, you know? Okay. Like a little bit of that New York bar flavor.
Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah.
The difference between the movies we're talking about today and blue cheese is I'm going to digest these movies. I'm not touching blue cheese.
That's fair.
Yeah. Sam, what are we talking about today? What is the main topic? What is the blue cheese of this episode?
We are talking, this is an episode that we've floated for a while, probably since the inception of this podcast. Mm-hmm. We're finally talking Frank Henenlotter, and we're talking Frank Henenlotter's B movies. That is Basket Case and Brain Damage. We just recently, I mean, you know, we've been kind of busy the last few weeks.
Yeah. And, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, we needed something that was kind of easy for homework. Mm-hmm. And both of us were already going to Basket Case or Brain Damage at the State late night this past Friday. And so we were like, let's just do our Henenlotter episode. And so, yeah, we're doing Basket Case and Brain Damage.
Yeah, we were going to do one of the two new releases that's still in theaters right now, whether that be Saw X or The Exorcist Believer, but neither one of us have watched them yet.
We haven't gotten to it yet,
Sorry. We'll eventually talk about them on the show.
Yeah.
Maybe a Saw episode down the road.
Oh, yeah,
probably not an Exorcist one. I don't know. Maybe.
No, I don't know.
At least not.
I have a feeling I'll be watching this new Exorcist movie once, and that's enough for me, which is typically enough for me in any Exorcist movie. Like, I feel like that's just exorcism movies aren't my bag, man. You know?
Oh, they're not mine either, but it's the fact that we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it when I eventually watch it. I'll probably make you watch it because I will say Sam will like this movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I still have to watch. I put the Pope's Exorcist on my watch list because you were like, no, you'd kind of love it.
You would kind of dig it.
So I'm like, fine, but if you steer me wrong, if it's a devil inside situation, I'm swearing off of them forever.
Okay.
So I love that movie.
that's the bar right now for Exorcist Believer. If Sam likes the Pope's Exorcist, it's a go.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, we're not talking about it on the show.
Yep.
No, I'm pumped to talk about this because we've floated around between you and I a couple different Henenlotter ideas.
Yep.
Since we started the podcast, we will eventually do a favorite of the show, Frankenhooker, which I think both of us have talked about on the show. Multiple times. I know I have.
Multiple, yeah.
We'll do an episode on that. We have an idea of a movie to pair with that. I mean, the only logical pairing between Frankenhooker is, Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of Frankenstein, exactly.
Yeah. It's the only movie you could pair with that.
It's the godfather of... I mean, it's the... how do I put it? It's the godmother of Frankenhooker. Like, Frankenhooker doesn't exist without it, but also, like, James Whale walked in that movie so that Frank Henenlotter could, like...
blow up hookers.
Yeah. Yeah, that movie is insane. I love it.
We'll talk about that one down the road. We'll definitely be pairing those two movies together. But before we get to that, we're talking Basket Case, Brain Damage. We're going to talk about that a little later on in the show. So, I mean, if you haven't watched these movies yet, I mean, we're live right now. I don't know what you can do about that. That put them on in the background while you listen to us, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And then we'll spoil everything but the first 45 minutes for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, Sam, before we get to that, though, we got some screaming mad news to talk about.
Yeah, we do. We do. The first thing on that screaming mad news, too, is did you guys know SuperCon came to town? Like, SuperCon happened. And it was like a record-breaking year for SuperCon.
Yeah, there was one or two people that showed up to it this year.
Yeah. 1, 2, or like
10,
over 10,000. Yeah, it was insane. That was it was. I mean, it was a great weekend. It was fantastic. Still kind of not sure if all of it for real happened, or if it was just like a few I have had no sleep all weekend kind of state. But yeah, it was an experience.
Yeah, I still don't think I fully processed SuperCon weekend yet, because I mean, for us it started literally Thursday night at like 7 o'clock.
We met one of my favorite bands too, unrelated to SuperCon.
All right, let's tell that story. Let's tell that story first before we get into the SuperCon stuff, because this is like maybe the craziest thing that happened all weekend.
Yeah, so Casey dragged me out to the SuperCon mixer, where we were like, it's like guests and SuperCon staff can like meet, get the hey, how are yous, like all done the night before, so that day of con we already know each other, we're smooth, we're good to go.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. It's also a very social event, which means I complained the entire time leading up to it, and then had a really good time anyways. But we were at the is it the Sheridan? Whatever's attached to the Sioux Falls Convention Center. And we were in the bar, we're having drinks with Nick Simon, Terry Taylor, no big deal. And I see the drummer from the Gaslight Anthem walk in. And I recognized him, and then I stared a little too long, and we made eye contact, and I awkwardly smiled and waved. And he waved back, and then he got on the elevator, and he moved on with his life.
Sam looked like Tim Curry's Pennywise trying to wave a kid over to him.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like. Yeah.
Probably. So, so that happens, and I think, well, that's cool. They must be staying here. I bet they're all probably up in their beds already. He probably was just out for like a smoke or something, whatever, And not like less than 5 minutes later, the rest of the band walked in, and I kind of did the same thing. I just stared for way too long. And then we made eye contact. I made eye contact with Brian Fallon, the front man, and I raised my hand. like I was in class. Like I was like, can I speak? Can I speak to you? And he motioned for me to do my thing, just act like a normal human being. He's like, yeah, And so I came up, and like nicest dudes, coolest dudes. We talked for like a couple minutes, I got a picture with 3/4 of the band. Just the nicest people. And it was super cool. And it was probably the most I geeked out all weekend, surprisingly.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe not the most, but it's
up there.
It's up there. I was pretty sweaty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I obviously could not hold a conversation for the rest of the night because my mind kept wandering. But it was a really fun night full of good conversation up until that point. I'm sure there was good conversation. My brain just wasn't in it.
Sam, we were sitting there with Nick Simon and Tony Fleeks, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden you like freaked out that you saw them. I had no idea who they were. I don't think Nick and Tony knew who they were, but probably wouldn't have recognized them. Yeah, what they said.
Yeah,
we were all just very proud for you, Sam. We were just very, very happy for you.
Yeah, it was an experience. It was cool. I love that band. Their new album's coming out at the end of October. I'm stoked. It was pretty surreal meeting them, and it was nice because obviously like they were in town. Like they played the District the Friday night of SuperCon, and very obviously Casey and I were busy, so I did not go to that show, but it was really cool getting to meet them anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and my boy Nick Simon got me a Gaslight Anthem t-shirt, so I got a shirt and a picture with the band. The only thing I missed was the concert.
And you have a better story than if you had just gone to the concert.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. So yeah.
No, I mean, SuperCon itself was, like I said, just kind of just a blur for us.
Yeah.
Like these 3.5, 4 days just kind of flew by together. And I don't think we fully processed everything that happened. I mean, it was a blast. We were very busy, obviously, with 10,000 people there. I think even more so than previous years of us doing the film festival side of things. It was like we were go, go, go from the start.
It was pretty hands-on this year from our end. Like we were really in the shit, for lack of a better term, you know. Like it was like we were in it. It was great. It was fun. It was a good time. I was exhausted. I crashed hard afterwards.
I did not. I stayed up and watched AEW. Was Wrestle Dream, I think, was the show until like 10 o'clock, and then I passed out. And then,
is Wrestle Dream where Edge made his first appearance or whatever? Yeah.
I fell asleep before that, and I watched it the next day. But
oh, nice. Yeah.
But I mean, we met some awesome people. Like we said, we got to hang out with Nick and Tony all week. Weekend, we got to do an awesome panel with them that was very well received and well attended. I think that was awesome.
That was one of the highlights of our fest this year, I think.
I kept telling them, like, we're gonna have a full room, and neither one of them believed me, but we did.
We had a full room. Yeah. It was good, and it was a good panel too. Like it you know,
learned a lot about screenwriting. Nick, I don't know where you got that book, but apparently it's sold out on the website. So if you can hook us up with where you found that book, let us know.
Yeah.
But, speaking of books, I'm going to use that as a segue.
Yes.
I guess we'll get back to our guests in a second. I'm using this as a segue to SuperCon stuff we bought.
Yeah.
Literally, I bought one thing for myself at SuperCon.
And I assume I have the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, Nick brought like the coolest thing, in my opinion, of any guest to bring. He brought his screenplay for Untitled Horror Movie that he wrote alongside Luke Baines. So I'm pumped to dig into this. We're friends with Nick Simon. We love this movie. We played it 2 years ago.
Yeah, we played it our first year doing it. Yeah.
Yep. And then he also gave us a copy of Girl in the Photographs, which maybe we should
do a Nick Simon episode. We should do a Nick Simon episode.
We should maybe just have him on to do a Nick Simon episode. I don't know if
we should. Let's just have Nick on.
He can review his own movies.
Hey, he's the most honest about his movies out of anybody. Like, I love Nick.
Yeah. So that's literally all I purchased. And then I guess the only other thing from SuperCon I got was some DVDs that I'm not going to show.
Oh yeah.
The spines.
Yep, our buddy AJ Chambers, who played he directed Attack of the 50-Foot Sphincter, which closed down our Friday night in glorious fashion. I think the crowd liked it. I think
we teased it last episode that AJ was on. The crowd, I gave them a warning. I played a video beforehand, gave them plenty of time to leave. I'm proud of that crowd. They all stayed through it, and I think they all had a good time.
Yeah, they were all laughing with it. Like it was very much it was a communal experience. It was great. Yeah. Attack of the 50-Foot Sphincter rules. And it is on YouTube. So check it out. Check it out. It's incredible. Give our buddy AJ some love.
Yeah. All right, Sam, what else did you purchase from SuperCon?
I also got I ended up going back and getting it because I was like, the thing that got me was like he has pretty much the whole movie storyboarded back here.
Yeah, and it's the Girl in the Photographs script and storyboards from.
Yeah, and so I like the visual aspect of filmmaking. That's another thing I've been doing. I've been dabbling in some animation recently, and storyboard animatics and things. And so I thought it'd be a good resource and a fun way to support Nick, because he's awesome. I also I'm gonna save that for last. I got the new Bad Hand book from our buddy Doug Morano
in my box. I didn't buy it though.
Yeah. Yeah. I've only gotten to the first story in this so far, just because it's been a crazy couple of weeks. But yeah, this rules. I can't wait to read the rest of them. Like, the first story was just incredible. Teenage love story meets Lovecraft. It was like, yeah.
We need to have Doug on again soon.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. I did buy Stray Dogs from Tony Fleece.
Oh, I had that too. I guess I did purchase.
Yeah, that's right.
That. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited. The premise of this is insane, and I love it, and I love dogs. So like, I feel like this is gonna be a win. I'm excited. For I found a Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Hellbound VHS. VHS box set. I was like, I gotta get this. And then
literally at the one booth that had like 2 VHS.
Yeah. And what was the other one? It was Dream Warriors, but I already have that one. So yep. I got the little Burger King Wolfman to go with my Frankenstein that I got when I was a kid. And I'm excited. Now I really want to find the rest of these and have the whole collection. So I'm going to be on the lookout for Burger King Universal Monster toys.
eBay, Sam.
eBay. I also got this wonderful, cool, customized license plate signed by both Caroline and Bob. Bob is in orange. It's a little harder to see, but he's there. Cool stuff. They were so awesome. It was wonderful to meet them. I got Chopping Mall Blu-ray signed by Kelly. And yes, in case you guys were wondering, it does say I am the best. So
Sam's the best.
That's coming from Kelly Maroney, not me. I'm apparently the best.
That's your new nickname for the show. It's no longer Sam the Damned. It's Sam the Best.
Sam the Best. Yeah, right? And then also, I've been wanting one of these ever since she posted them on her Instagram story. I got a little mini Killbot from Kelly. And she signed the base. And it's so great. It's just sitting on my little workstation. And it just keeps me company while I am doing all of my creative stuff.
It's just telling you to have a nice day, Sam.
It's telling me to have a nice day. And I have. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other highlights was the people you just mentioned there, Kelly Maroney, Caroline Williams, Bob Elmore. We did a main stage panel with all 3 of them, which I think was one of the highlights for me of the festival, because
easily
we got to talk about so many different movies and projects that they worked on. Like we got a freaking Spaceballs story from Bob Elmore. Like, how cool is that? He was the stunt double for John Candy in a bunch of movies. Caroline told us about working with Rob Zombie on Halloween 2.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Kelly Maroney may or may not have blasted
Sean Penn.
Sean Penn.
He had to be called him a poser. It was so good. It was so good. I loved it. Yeah, I seriously, I know that they have a video of that somewhere. I cannot wait until that is in our hands, because
once we have it, I'm gonna use whatever magic I have to just post it on our stuff.
On Screams,
on Screams, socials, and maybe our YouTube.
Absolutely, yeah. So be on the lookout for that. We're over the moon about how that panel went. I think both Casey and I got told by different people on that panel that it was a really good one, and one of the better ones that they'd done. And so that's just, I don't know. That's always incredible feedback. I was grinning like a 12-year-old boy the entire time we were on stage, though. Like, I could not contain my smile.
Yeah, here comes my other Wayne's World reference for this episode, because I got to have one an episode. Sam was like Garth's dream sequence in the donut shop.
Yep.
Where he starts singing Foxy Lady.
Yep. 100%. Yep. I was just, I couldn't stop. I was just, I'd catch myself and then I'd be like, okay, have a normal look on your face. And like 2 seconds later, it was just back. And I was like, whatever, this is what we're doing.
Yep. And then we had our big local filmmakers showcase, which kind of has become in the last, I mean, every year has gotten bigger, but for sure in the last 2 years has kind of become our like main event for the film festival. And we packed the room to capacity. We had it was a dozen, 10 to 12 local filmmakers in attendance, and then taking part in a panel afterwards. And I mean, it was a blast. It was awesome to showcase everyone's movie and giving local talent time to shine alongside the feature films that we got to play from Kelly and Caroline and Bob.
Yeah, which those went over really well too. Shout out to my mom for
your mom was the film festival MVP this year. She made it through TCM, Sorority Babes 2, and
our late night
shorts.
Yeah. I genuinely can't believe it, but that mom was a trooper this year.
Yep, she made it.
I should have known after she sat through Manos, The Hands of Fate.
At least we were making fun of that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Final thoughts, SuperCon. I mean,
it was a dream come true to work with our horror guests this year. Like, I mean, we did a whole episode dedicated to Kelly Maroney. My favorite movie ever is Chopping Mall. Like, it's the movie I just put on. Like,
and she recognized us from Halloween-a-Palooza, and
she did
recognize the name of our podcast right away.
Yep. It was pretty cool. It was it was incredible.
She is legitimately one of the nicest people. So awesome, and so very, very gracious to her fans. All three of them were like, we kept like hanging out. That was kind of our hangout inside the main hall area, and like it was just, they always had people up talking to them, and it was great. Cool.
I think all three of them had a good time at SuperCon, and I could see them all coming back at some point in the future too, which is cool. It's always, I don't know, it's always good when any guest that we bring in has a good experience like that, but I don't know, it just meant a lot to have these three come and enjoy themselves, and I really hope that we do get them back at some point, because they were all awesome to work with.
Here's to bigger and better next year, 2024.
We're gonna try
20,000, baby. Okay, maybe not that much, but
I hope not. Let's settle for like
12,000.
12,000. 12,000 is a good number to aim for.
So we'll keep talking about this as news drops. We already know some stuff, but we can't say. We're not going to say. I'm going to tell you nothing. You got to wait.
We know some really exciting stuff. It's been really hard to keep our mouths shut about it. So
we know things for next year, and we're excited, so that means you should be excited.
Yeah,
we'll leave it at that.
Really excited. So,
speaking of being excited about stuff we watched at SuperCon, this one had nothing to do with SuperCon, besides the fact we just put it on the big screen in the film room because the trailer just dropped. We're talking about the Toxic Avenger trailer, which is perfect. It's perfect. It sets the tone for exactly what you want it to be. We were like yelling at the screen, like hoping they would show the Toxic Avenger, Peter Dinklage's version, and they never do, and it was like, oh, now we got to watch the movie to get the full version. This honestly looks incredible.
I hope they don't put out a single other thing for this movie. Like,
I would think they probably won't. If they do, they're not showing Dinklage in it, because if they did, it would have been here.
I feel like but I don't know, I'm so excited. Like, this movie looks incredible. I haven't finished it yet, but I did start the Toxic Avenger, the original one. And oh my god, that movie is insane. I love it.
Once this new one comes out,
we'll do
the maybe we'll try to do all 4. I don't know if we can.
Because there's a trilogy, right? There's
4 of them.
Oh, you're not talking about with the new one. Like with the new one will be the fifth Toxic Avenger movie?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Our buddy Blake Ginnathan, who will be on the podcast next time we do this.
Yeah.
He loves Toxic Avenger 4. Like, that's his go-to Toxic.
Okay.
Avenger. So.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll do it. We'll do that episode once this new one comes out.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And then the last piece of screaming mad news, Terrifier 3. It is officially coming. We kind of knew that it was coming already. Terrifier 2 is getting a re-release in theaters November 1st, correct?
Yep, November 1st.
And they are going to have a sneak peek preview of Terrifier 3, which, from what Damian Leone has said online,
it's not just 2+ minute trailer.
Yeah, it's not just a little tease. It's not Art the Clown will return. It's not
unfinished CGI footage of the Hulk saving people from a burning building.
No, it is 100% a full 2+ minute long trailer for Terrifier 3. Yeah, we can't wait. That might be the time we do Terrifier 1 and 2. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to rewatching the first one, but I'll watch the second one anytime. The second one has become an anytime movie, dude.
We should go to that re-release.
We should. Obviously. We should just plan on it opening night. Like, let's just go see it on the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's
Wednesday
just do
night.
It.
Let's be there.
Yep. Boom.
All right. What's next? What do we got next, Sam? How does this
next, work? I get to ask my favorite question. Casey, what have you been doing?
Besides SuperCon, what else have I been doing? I finally had a day off Sunday.
Yeah.
And all I did was watch a bunch of movies and do laundry, which is like the perfect day for me, even with the laundry. The first thing that we watched, though, we watched Halloween Town, which kind of has always been a reoccurring every Halloween season movie for me. Obviously, it played all the time on Disney Channel in the late 90s, early 2000s. Gave it a rewatch. How do you criticize this movie? How can I criticize this movie? Is it good? No. Is it like nostalgic and like everything I want in a Disney Channel original movie? Yes. It's exactly everything I want there. Debbie Reynolds is great in this movie. I think she's so much fun. I think the overall look of how the official Halloween Town is awesome. Like, I've always wanted to visit there. Since I was a kid, I was like, I need to go see that pumpkin in Halloween Town.
Yeah.
The thing I love in this movie, though, is like, it's so cheap and so very cable TV movie that the people in Halloween Town just wear masks.
Yeah.
It's like he's supposed to be a spooky goblin, but it's like a goblin
just
mask.
A dude in a goblin
but
mask.
It's a dude like in a t-shirt and jeans, and like he doesn't have goblin hands, like he has normal human hands. And that's literally like everyone in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Those movies, yeah, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched any except for the first one in a while, but like the first one is like very much a yearly thing here.
Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge, like legit rules. It's a pretty damn good movie.
Yeah, I used to love those on Disney Channel. So
yeah, I mean, if you're a 90s kid like us, like it's you can't go wrong with Halloween Town.
Nostalgia goggles, right?
Yeah. Next up, a movie from 2005 I finally watched. I had seen parts of this before. Kayla really likes this movie. She's like, I can't believe you have never seen this before. I'm
a little surprised myself, to be honest.
That I've never seen this?
Yeah.
I've seen bits and pieces of it on TV because it was on TV all the time.
I mean,
but I've never watched it beginning to end.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. I was like, because this movie was like huge when you and I were like preteens getting into horror, you know?
That is 2005's Ryan Reynolds led the Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't watched this movie since probably middle school or early high school, but I loved it back then.
I'm a big fan of the original Amityville Horror. I think it is a genuinely terrifying movie that I would put right up there with like The Omen or the maybe not quite on the Exorcist level, but in that same vibe. This one though has that Platinum Dunes really glossy, but maybe a little overproduced horror film vibe. The biggest thing I think the production design is really good. I think the house looks great. Obviously, it's very iconic. I like the introduction of the boathouse.
Grace Moretz in this too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's actually really good in this movie.
Yeah.
She plays like she's
the daughter, right?
The daughter, yep. And she's the one that kind of figures everything out. Yeah. The ghosts are just not memorable. I don't know if I needed to see them because like in the original Amityville Horror, it's very much you leave everything up to your own imagination. This one just kind of shows you everything and there's not a whole lot of subtlety. And I think the biggest culprit is Ryan Reynolds. I like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's severely miscast in this movie though. Because he goes from like quippy Ryan Reynolds to like angry dad within scenes. And he goes back and forth very quickly. And it's not really character progression or, you know, him losing his mind or falling victim to the house. It's just poor writing or Ryan Reynolds throwing in a quip when he shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like he should have gone one way or the other. I think he's trying to do both and probably should have just leaned towards playing straight man in this movie and not having the Ryan Reynolds quips. Yeah. And just played it straight.
I feel like for him, that's him trying to be like the everyman type of thing. And maybe that worked back when like not everybody really knew Ryan Reynolds. Cause like this is 2005. Like I know he's already done like Van Wilder and Waiting and all that.
Yeah.
But like he's still just, this is before like Green Lantern and Deadpool and all of that like shot him into the stratosphere. And so I wonder if that's just like his everyman switch. But now it's just like, well, that's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if watching it now is actually more like, oh, what is he doing? Because like we've gotten so used to that shtick. Like we've gotten so used to him.
It probably didn't help. I watched Waiting like 2 weeks ago too, and I still had that Ryan Reynolds, but he leans into it maybe a little too much in this movie. Is it a terrible movie? No. Is it a classic? No, it's a 2005 remake of the Amityville Horror.
My hot take, and granted, this is a hot take from when I was like probably like 12 or whatever, you know, when this came out. I liked this. I bought a 2-pack of the original in this one. I like this one more. I used to put this one on all the time over the old one, which was rare for me even back then. Like even back then, I was more usually into like 70s and 80s horror more so than the new stuff. Like I didn't like a lot of new stuff, but I loved a lot of the 70s and 80s stuff. So I don't know. That was me back then though.
It was Ryan. It was Ryan's abs. I get it.
I mean, he does look good in this movie.
Yeah. He's just suburban dad.
Yep, suburban dad, Ryan. My favorite part is in the third act where he like comes up and he's like fully possessed. He's in pissed off dad mode and he has the shotgun and he just cocks it one-handed. I'm just like, God, that's such like it's just a brutal moment. You're like, oh my God, like, no, don't shotgun your family. Like, oh, I don't know. I love it. I love that movie.
Maybe we'll do an Amityville episode.
We should.
Actually, an idea for a podcast I had was calling it the Amityville Podcast and just talk about every single Amityville movie.
Yeah, we'd
have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. But like I'd jump out a window by like episode 4.
Once we can like do this show steadily and like can quit our day jobs and never have to do anything but watch shitty Amityville movies, we'll start the Amityville Podcast.
There we go. Yeah, it'll be like our bonus podcast when Scream starts actually making money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
I have new releases here on my next couple ones. I'll save the one I know we both watched.
Oh, yeah. We have different opinions on this one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll kick it off with a movie you have said you refuse to watch. It is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which is on Peacock right now. Finally watched it. I mean, intrigued to watch it. I kind of knew what I was going to get into, but I was at least intrigued to watch like the Winnie the Pooh slasher movie. And that's, I think, the whole reason it made it to theaters at all and is getting any sort of traction. Like, it's on Peacock right now, which is kind of like Peacock goes all out in October, I think, maybe more so than any of the other streaming services that aren't straight up horror related.
Well, and Peacock has like weird stuff on there too. Like they have some really out there B movie, like low budget stuff. Peacock's great.
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is not. Surprise, surprise.
Who would have known?
The movie peaks for me. So spoilers for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I'm gonna tell you spoilers because I don't think you're gonna watch this movie.
I don't care. I will never watch this.
The movie opens with like hand drawings of like explaining the relationship between Pooh and Tigger and Eeyore and Piglet with Christopher Robin. Okay. Like basically telling the Winnie the Pooh story we all know. And then it says Christopher Robin started to grow up. He went to college and had to leave them there to fend for themselves. And during the first winter, they start to get hungry because he used to bring them food. And so Pooh decided to eat Eeyore. And from that day forth, they vowed not to speak again and kill Christopher Robin if he ever returned.
Oh my God, that's one of the funniest things
is like they draw a grave for Eeyore. They ate him and then they buried him apparently. But there's like a wooden tombstone above it, and it has his tail pinned to it.
God.
And I was hoping that was the vibe for the rest of the movie, like kind of tongue in cheek, like, oh my God, they hate Eeyore. Like, that's hilarious. No, that's not this movie. It's just a boring generic slasher that just so happens to have Winnie the Pooh and Piglet as the strangers instead of the strangers. Yeah. It's what it is. There's some fun gore effects. There's some fun kills. Little too much CGI in those kills, and a lot of them. I don't know why, because they do use a lot of real blood and practical effects, but there is some CGI in it too. And apparently Pooh controls bees in this movie because honey.
Oh.
Like telepathically controls bees. I don't think it makes sense. I didn't know that was part of the Winnie the Pooh lore.
Yeah.
But he controls bees.
That's dumb.
It is dumb. I would not recommend it unless you're like, I want to watch the Winnie the Pooh slasher movie. Then go for it. Whatever. I watched it. It happened.
Yeah.
Pooh can control bees. Yes, that's what I said. Look out, Nicolas Cage. Next up, did you? I don't know if you watched this one at all. It is one of Hulu and 20th Century Studios' big releases right now. It is No One Will Save You from what's the guy?
Brian Duffield.
Duffield. Yep. Writer of Underwater and director of Spontaneous.
Yes. He also wrote Love and Monsters from last year with Dylan O'Brien, which is another just top notch. Like, it's great. It's good stuff.
This movie is the buzz I've been hearing about it, no pun intended on bees there, was that you're either going to love this movie or you're just going to not vibe with it. Because the whole concept of it is it's an alien invasion movie, but there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
And either you're in or you're out on that. I was in for the most part. There's the gimmick of it wears a little bit thin by the second half of the movie, where it's like it just becomes a gimmick instead of progressing the story forward. Like if it was like you can't talk because the aliens will hear you, that makes sense. Instead, it's just no one's talking because that's the gimmick.
Yeah. And like, even if they did that, A Quiet Place did it first. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I started this movie and I didn't like shut it off or anything. It's not like I didn't like it. Like, I enjoyed the first half of it. I think I started it post SuperCon, because didn't it come out like SuperCon weekend? Yeah, I started it post SuperCon. I fell asleep. I woke up to a very different movie auto playing on Hulu, which was jarring to say the least.
Where's the aliens?
I was like, oh my God, like, this is a lot gorier and darker than I remember it being like. But yeah, the first 45 minutes of it are very good. Very good.
Well, that being said, like, the gimmick wears thin by the end. I'll agree with that. I still really enjoyed this movie. I liked it a lot. It reminds me of Dark Skies a little bit, which is a movie I talked about a few episodes ago, and I didn't care for that. This one does that concept of the alien invasion to a like suburban house perfectly. I think this one does what Dark Skies was trying to do. It definitely leans into some Lovecraft vibes as well, like a Lovecraft alien invasion type of movie. There's also like some creepypasta-ness in this. Like, Brian Duffield really understands like sci-fi horror.
Yeah. And well, it's cool because the aliens are like actual grays in it.
Yeah.
Like, they're the grays. They're the gray aliens.
They're
like,
what you think of when you say alien.
Yeah, it's so great. Like, I feel like those are inherently scary because like that's just the modern, like, well, not even the modern, like that's just what we've considered aliens to be for so long. It's shocking to me that we don't have more horror movies where it's just that, because to me that's like 10 times scarier. To me it's like, oh, this feels like it could actually happen because this is what I imagine, you know. I don't know. Yeah.
There's a final boss alien that I'm not going to spoil.
Okay.
But when the final boss alien shows up, I'm like, yes.
God, I can't wait for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man to show up.
He's there. No, I really enjoyed this movie. Will it make my top 10? I don't. Maybe. I really liked it. I think it's definitely worth the watch. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like the most revolutionary horror movie ever made, but I think there's enough there that no matter who you are, you'll at least get something out of it. I don't think people will outright hate it, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And then my last one is one that we both watched. We have I know we have very different opinions on this. There's a million things to watch right now on streaming and theaters, especially for horror. This episode's dropping on Friday the 13th, so happy Friday the 13th to everyone out there. We'll be at Halloween-a-Palooza. More on that later. But there's so much to watch, and I decided to watch the new Pet Sematary. We both did. Watch Pet Sematary Bloodlines, a terrible title. This movie... So this movie's a prequel to the... Was it 2019 remake of
2019?
Of Pet Sematary. This tells the story that Judd tells about someone from the town of Ludlow that was a Vietnam vet that was brought back to life via the Pet Sematary. And the story he tells there is a very abbreviated version of that. It's basically a dad buries his son in the pet cemetery who was in the army, comes back to life and kills people and then burns them in a fire.
Yeah. And
this one, we get the entire, like, what really happened type of thing.
Yeah. Except for, like, okay, here's where, like, I don't like slagging on movies, so I'm not, like, there are good things about...
I'll pick it back up.
There are good things about this movie. Like, I'll get that out of the way. Like, I loved all the adult performances, even if I think most of the adults are kind of wasted in this.
Yeah, like David Duchovny doesn't have a whole lot to do. Neither does
Pam Grier. It's like, what? Why is she?
Oh, I liked her. I liked her in this movie.
I like her in this movie, but like, it's just there's nothing. It's a nothing burger. it stretches like one chapter of Pet Sematary into an entire, I mean, yeah, it's Judd's monologue, which in the book is a little bit longer, maybe a little more detailed. They add some characters in. I liked that this had a Native American presence in it, just because like the book uses a lot of Native American lore. It feels weird to have it only centered around white people.
Yeah, I was gonna say all three previous Pet Sematary movies are pretty white character heavy. I know they changed what's the character that died, the college student
Victor
Victor Pascal,
yeah.
But like, yeah, the movie deals with like Indian burial grounds and the Wendigo, and like that's the real Pet Sematary, and they don't have any like native characters, which is weird. And I think that's the biggest improvement this movie makes on what they could have added to this story.
I like it. I think it's good. I think I forget the character's name and the actress's name, but no, I won't spoil it. The Native American like teen girl in this is incredible.
Yeah, she's great.
So good. Yeah. There were things I liked about it. I just ultimately, like, so much of this movie feels very boring and not like, it just doesn't move forward for me. And maybe it's because, like, having read the book, having seen all the movies, you kind of know where this movie is going. And to me, there's just not enough surprises along the way for it to be like all that engaging. I feel like it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm okay just listening to Judd's monologue from the other one. Like it gets more to the point, you know, like
I think everyone else agrees with you. Every review I've seen is like 2.5, 2 stars.
Yeah. And like,
right around there. For me, this is one of my favorite horror movies of the year.
I'm glad.
I liked this movie a lot more than I was probably expecting to. I gave it 3.5 out of 5. I think it's just because I love the Pet Sematary universe, and I would listen or watch any story in that. Like the OG Pet Sematary movie, for me, is arguably the best Stephen King movie. I'd put it right up there with The Shining for me. Like it's right up there, right next to it. Like it's that good in my opinion.
Oh, it's a personal favorite of mine too. Yeah.
And I mean, I talked about all three of them on the podcast at one point, but I love those movies and I love that world. And I think this one just kind of seamlessly fits in there. Is it necessary for you to watch this movie if you watch the remake or even the original? I mean, no, you're still going to get the same thing out of it. But if you enjoy that world and you want a little more into like why the town is the way the town is, like my favorite part of this movie is when they go back to the formation of Ludlow.
The flashbacks are pretty cool and very gruesome.
Yeah. And I was like, I'd watch a whole movie about like where the Pet Sematary originated and like how the town formed, and maybe some other maybe set something in like the late 1800s and do a story then.
Yeah, absolutely. I would watch. That's the thing. I would watch a bunch of movies in this. This one didn't necessarily work for me all the way, but like I'd still say it's worth a watch if you're a Stephen King fan, especially if you're a Pet Sematary fan, especially if you like the remake, because I feel like tonally it shares a lot of similarities with that one.
I like this more than the remake.
Oh, I don't. I think the remake's way better.
The only thing missing in this movie, there's no Ramones needle drop at the credits. Like, come on. You had one job.
That said, the final like 30 seconds is so frustrating to me because the final 30 seconds hit the tone that I wanted from the get-go in this movie. Like it worked. I was like,
plug your ears, listeners, for like 1 minute. What
1 minute. Okay. Minor spoilers because you kind of know what's going to happen. When Judd, Jackson White as Judd, accepts his fate, and there's the like monologue, the voiceover going over, and it's essentially like his same speech to Lewis.
Yeah.
But after all of this has happened, and he's sitting on his porch and he's lighting the cigarette and he's assuming the position that we like know him from the like the book, from the movies. Like and he ends it with like a "stay the fuck out of Ludlow," and then vroom, like I'm just like, where was that energy and that, like, I don't know, to me I was just like, that was where the movie all of a sudden picked up.
It fit tonally with the rest of the movie. They were setting that up the entire movie. This is where Judd's gonna end up.
Yeah, I get that.
And they also tease that damn semi like 5 different times in this movie. It's like, we get it. We saw the movie.
Yeah,
we read the book. We know a semi is gonna run over a little child. You don't have to keep bringing it up.
Honestly, with as many times as they showed the semi, I was like expecting someone to get flattened at some point, and no one did.
It literally within the first
just
30,
because they wanted to put a semi.
Within the first 30 seconds and the last 30 seconds, they do the stupid semi flying by.
Yep.
It's dumb.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
I think I liked it as a bookend. They did it like 2 or 3 more times throughout though, and I was like, okay, it's enough. It's enough with semis. Yeah. So yeah, minor recommendation from me. Still go watch
Big recommendation.
You might like it like Casey. I really wanted to like it, and the reviews did not turn me off.
It's gonna be in my top 10. It is.
Yeah, I imagine. And the reviews didn't even turn me off of it. Like one of my favorite Craven movies is My Soul to Take. When I see a 10% on the tomato meter, I'm like, let's go, baby. But yeah, I don't know. This one just didn't work for me.
All right, Sam, what about you? What else have you been doing besides watching Pet Sematary, Bloodlines, the final chapter?
One that you didn't put on yours that I know you watched because I sat next to you the whole time you hated it is Sunshine.
Is it a horror movie?
It is in the last 30 minutes. It's a slasher. This was the first time watch for both of us, right? It's for our buddy. It's for our buddy Blake's.
Yeah. Danny Boyle's Sunshine. We watched at our buddy Blake's birthday bash at the State Theater.
Yep.
There was probably 50 people.
Yeah. Blake packed the place. It was great.
I was the only one that hated it, I think.
There were a few people that didn't care for it, at least. But yeah, it was totally my shit. I loved it. I was
surprising to me, actually.
I don't know. I was just like super into this movie from the first frame. It's very abstract, which sometimes does not work for me. Like, I did not like Skinamarink, which part of the reason I didn't like it was because it just was too abstract. I was like, no, I just don't. I don't gel with it. I'm a big fan of space though, and I think like I really am. I love space and I love movies about space, and like yeah, I don't know, I dug this. It was I could have a smarter conversation than this about Sunshine, but like I don't want to spend too much time on it. All I'll say is like I really liked it, and I kind of forgive Danny Boyle for whatever Yesterday was. Why would you make a Beatles movie and edit on Ed Sheeran's song? Are you freaking kidding me, Danny Boyle?
Hey, Ed Sheeran rules.
Yeah. But yeah, so I really liked Sunshine. Thanks for playing it, Blake. Finally got to check that off my watch list. Here's one that I thought I'd never be singing the praises of.
Okay.
If you would have told me 6 months ago that I would not hate, but I would not vibe with the new Pet Sematary, but I would really like the latest Disney family horror, I'd tell you were like smoking something like heavy. But here I am telling you, I did not care for Pet Sematary Bloodlines, but the new Haunted Mansion movie, I really dug. I've never been on the ride. My introduction to it was the Eddie Murphy movie, which like is not good, but nostalgia kind of like, at least, I don't know, I still watch it every once in a while. I'm like, this isn't good, but I still kind of have fun with it. This one, I don't know, I thought it was legitimately good. I think Lakeith Stanfield is giving an incredible performance in this. There's a lot of emotional heft to what he is doing, and I really like the supporting cast. I think Tiffany Haddish, Danny DeVito, Owen Wilson, like all of them are very funny to me. I was laughing throughout this. It didn't totally feel like a Disney movie to me. And I think part of that was it was just like it dealt with some really dark stuff. Like it very much dealt with grief and the afterlife and what happens in the beyond. And I don't know. I love those themes anyways. So it felt a little bit more mature to me. I liked it a lot. And yeah, it covers up Jared Leto with CG and it modifies his voice so you don't even know it's Jared Leto.
Well, and a lot of people, Jared Leto?
Well, see, that's what a lot of people are saying, and a lot of people are like using that as a knock against the film. And I'm like, anytime I don't have to see or hear Jared Leto, it's a win. So I'd rather he be in more movies like this. But if he's going to be in movies at all,
it's scarier if you don't see or hear him and you don't realize it's him.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
That's the true haunted terror of the haunted mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I watched the trailer, like I was like, this looks genuinely like creepy and scary.
There's some genuinely creepy stuff in it.
Yeah.
It also has a lot of humor, mostly derived from Danny DeVito. Like he's the comic relief whenever things start getting too heavy. Danny DeVito comes in with a line that just like there were multiple times where I was like wiping tears, and then Danny DeVito would say something, and I just start dying laughing. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. It's not dark Disney, but I think it's as close to dark Disney as we are ever going to get in this modern era. And so I don't know. I dug it. I really liked it. Totally get why people didn't, but also, I don't know. I had fun.
I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
It's on the Disney Plus right now.
Why did I put brain damage on my doobie doing?
I don't know. Why did you?
I don't know. I watched another new release, Totally Killer on Amazon Prime. This is the one with Kiernan Shipka and Julie Bowen in it. When the trailer first dropped, a lot of people were comparing it to The Final Girls. I think we might have even compared it to The Final Girls on here. When the trailer dropped, I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't know anything about this movie until like this week.
Maybe I did then. I don't know. I definitely joined the chorus of that. It's not The Final Girls. It's not. It's Killer is a Back to the Future remake. But if ABC Family did it as an R-rated slasher, and I mean that in the best way possible. I don't want a Back to the Future remake because we just got one and it kind of kicks ass. I really liked this. If you've seen Back to the Future, you know the beats, but like, I don't know. I got a lot of mileage out of this. I wish the deaths were more practical gore and less like CG stabbing and CG blood, but that's where the kind of like ABC Family made for TV vibe kind of comes in. So if you can at least vibe with that, then you're going to have a good time with this. I feel like, it's part Mean Girls, which is like when she goes back in time and like is trying to find the killer to save her mom in like the present day. Her mom back in the 80s is like the queen bee and is like a horrible person. And there's so much humor derived from it. Like at one point very early on in the movie, her own mom, like in teen form, tells her to F off and die. And like, I don't know. I had a blast with this. It got a bunch of big laughs from me. I don't think it hits like the emotional weight the same way that something like Happy Death Day or The Final Girls does. But it doesn't need to because like there's some really funny humor in this. Especially derived from like the generational gap where a teen today has grown up post 9/11 and is used to just like security measures, paranoia, like, oh, like you can't get in without blah, blah, blah. And she goes back to the 80s and she's basically able to just like get personal records and like basically do whatever she wants because no one cares. And there's just a lot of humor derived from that kind of stuff. And I don't know. It took some unexpected choices, I thought, and I liked it.
What would you call that like genre of slashers? Like The Final Girls and Happy Death Day and Freaky?
Yeah. Because it's almost like this modern wave of like teen slasher, but they're not just teen slasher. They're like genre bending teen slashers. You know? They're not all time travel, but they're all kind of like
Has some sort of other gimmick besides just being a slasher.
Yeah. I don't know. I know you don't have as much mileage with those. Like, I know that
those are always like hit or miss for me.
Yeah. Whereas like
I love Final Girls. I like the first Happy Death Day. I didn't like Happy Death Day 2 or Freaky. I love Tragedy Girls, which I would maybe fall in that same kind of vibe.
That one's just a darker version of these. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like, all of those movies
TikTok are all like slashers. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, sure. We'll call them TikTok slashers. That's a terrible name, but I love them. I really do. And I think this one is a really good entry into that.
I mean, it's either
for most people.
It's TikTok slashers or Tide Pod slashers. Like, there's only
I love Tide Pod slashers. We're gonna call them that from now on.
Tide Pod slashers, yeah.
Tide Pod slashers. Out of the Tide Pod slashers, it's like in the middle. You know, for most people, this is going to be a 3-star movie. For me, it was a 4. And honestly, if I have enough good times with this movie, it'll probably end up being a 5 like the rest of them, because that's just what I do. Like I said,
Sam loves his Tide Pod slashers.
I do. I love my Tide Pod slashers. And then, the last thing I watched Coraline. Just because I've been dabbling in stop motion. I made
You've seen it before, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. I love Leica. Leica's like my favorite animation studio. The only one, weirdly, that I haven't seen is Kubo and the Two Strings, which I started. I fell asleep. I have the Blu-ray, and for whatever reason, I have not put it back in yet. But yeah. I love Coraline. I think this is like damn near perfect children's horror flick. Really creepy, especially in the third act. Beautiful animation. Very inspiring. I shot my first stop motion test footage to this, and totally very different, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember your monster. Maybe just needs some button eyes, and it'll fit right in the universe of Coraline.
Yeah, a giant phallic monster with tentacles. Fits right into Coraline as long as you put buttons on it.
Yep. That, I mean, Kayla's been watching that movie like every night, Coraline. So.
Oh, really? Button nuts.
Thanks, Andy.
That's actually a good idea.
That's what you should call your character's name too.
Button nuts.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right, Sam. Is that it for your doobie doing? Your doobie done?
Yep, I'm doobie done.
Hey, speaking of doobie doing, we took a picture by the mystery machine.
We did. It's on our socials, I think.
Yeah.
Just go look at our socials.
Yeah, find it.
Yeah. Go find it right now.
All right, let's get to Mr. Frank Henenlotter. We're talking Frank Henenlotter's B movies, aka 2 of the craziest movies you will ever watch. Well, for us, I mean they're still pretty crazy. They're still pretty.
I was about to say, Henenlotter made some wild,
When you watch a Frank Henenlotter movie, you know you're watching a Frank Henenlotter movie.
Yeah, I think
let's start with that. Like our history with Henenlotter. What's your history with Frank Henenlotter?
So I very much am new to Frank Henenlotter, but I fell in love with this guy's filmography very quickly. It was probably year and a half, 2 years ago, probably 2 years ago actually. When Frankenhooker got put on Shudder. And I'd always wanted to watch it. Like, I'd heard of this movie and I was like, oh yeah, Frankenhooker, it's finally here. I'm gonna watch it. And I was just blown away by it. I mean, you guys know I talk about this movie about every week. Every other episode. So yeah, I really loved it. Immediately when I started gushing about it on socials, our buddy Tom Devine of A Comic Book Look, he and Spork Magazine, check out Spork, guys.
Shout out Tommy D.
Yeah, shout out to Tommy D. He was like, dude, you should watch Basket Case. Like, Basket Case is incredible. And so I did, and I was like, "You're right. Basket Case is incredible." And then it was like, I don't know, 6 months ago, I watched Brain Damage for the first time, and I mean, we'll get into it, but Brain Damage is one of my favorite recent, like, first time watches. Like, one of my favorite recent, like, experiences, I guess. Yeah, so it's very boring. It's just I didn't know Henenlotter, and then I did know Henenlotter, and I loved it. So that's the journey. I watched all three of his well, not all three, but like his three big movies in the last couple of years. I'm really excited to get to the Basket Case sequels. I've heard they're crazy. So and coming from him, I don't know what else you would expect. So yeah. That's my history. What about you?
Yeah, mine, I mean, I didn't watch them much earlier than you did. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago I watched Basket Case. And yeah, kind of immediately fell in love with that movie. Still haven't gone to the sequels. I'm very bad about, for some reason, not going to the sequels of some of these movies I really love. The other one that comes to mind is Maniac Cop, and I'm like, I've seen Maniac Cop like 3 or 4 times. And I've never seen the sequels.
Yep.
Same with Basket Case. I've probably seen it 3 or 4 times, and I'm still haven't jumped into the sequels. Anyway, Brain Damage, and I watched after that, and then you watched Frankenhooker before I did because it was your recommendation.
Yes.
And then I finally watched Frankenhooker, and obviously that's, a classic.
Was I the first one? Not well, obviously, like Corey was the first one in our group to watch Frankenhooker, but like, was I the first one in our group besides him to watch Frankenhooker?
I don't know. You were the first one to say this is cinema.
Yeah, that's fair. I love this movie.
Yeah. Let's kick things off with Basket Case. So we're gonna go in chronological order. We'll leave.
Start with the lesser one first. Yeah.
We'll leave Brain Damage as the. I'm choosing to ignore that as the main event because we saw that one on the big. Basket Case 1982, written and directed by Frank Henenlotter. It is about a 20-something-year-old who carries around this mysterious wicker basket around gross, grimy 80s New York City. And we soon find out that there is his formerly conjoined twin inside that basket.
Yep. Belial,
which... his
Dwayne and Belial.
Let's start there. Like, what were the parents thinking? Okay, we know what the parents were thinking. We get it. We get a flashback with the parents. They're awful people.
Yeah, it was real easy. Dwayne came out, and they were like, "Oh,
this looks like
Dwayne." And then the rest of Dwayne came out, and they were like, Belial? I don't know.
Poor Belial. We love you.
He just wants to be loved.
He does.
And then he goes too far. And then
he goes a little too far.
You have to die now.
Yeah. The plot of this movie is a really fun one for a movie that like deals with some like sort of heavy themes, but like isn't like bashing you over the head with them. And that's what I love about Frank Henenlotter. He deals like with themes in pretty much all of his movies.
Mm-hmm.
But
even Frankenhooker has some like
definitely does
topical stuff, you know? Yeah.
But he's never like trying to preach to you, and it never takes away from like the zaniness of the movie. Like this one here is dealing with like human rights and birthrights, and like should someone who looks like Belial and can be removed from his brother, is he still a real person? Should he be left on to his brother? Should he try to be separated and try to make him into, I guess, more of a quote unquote normal human being? Like the parents in this movie call him a monster and a monstrosity, and they say that thing isn't human. These are, I don't know, it's sort of heavy stuff that he's dealing with.
It is.
inside the zany revenge movie where Belial goes to all the people from their past and just brutally murders them
with his clumsy big hands.
With his clumsy big hands and no feet and stop motion movements.
Oh my god, the stop motion in this is so fun. Like, I mean, we'll talk about the stop motion in Brain Damage too, which is also fun. But yeah, like, yeah,
yeah. The overall vibe of this movie, like late 70s, early 80s New York horror movies, especially.
Yeah, but it's even grimy.
Just movies in general. Yeah, they're grimy, they're gross. You feel like you need to take a shower. Like if you watch Maniac, you're like, I need a shower after this one. Or New York Ripper. It's like, yeah, I feel gross. This one, do you feel like this movie falls in that same vibe of like, I need to take a shower afterwards? I don't, because I feel like our main characters are, well, at least Dwayne is like, he's just a dude, like an everyday dude. He's trying to help his brother out. Yeah. No matter how nefarious it kind of is, he's still like, he's a very humane person. He's very relatable everyman.
Yeah, he's a caring brother.
And he kind of takes us out of that grimy New York a little bit.
Yeah. I guess for me, like, this movie is, I know people call it a horror comedy, and like, it is funny, like, it's goofy, but it's also like, I think it's the heaviest of Henenlotter's 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, easily, especially in the third act. Like, I really feel like this, like, it doesn't end on anything funny. Like, there's nothing funny about the like last 20 minutes of this movie even. Okay, never mind. Belial stealing panties is pretty funny.
With his giant rubber hands.
With his giant rubber hands. But yeah, I don't know. Like this one is just I don't know. I mean, we'll get into spoilers. There's an act in the third act that does make me feel very gross. That's very much like, it's a very uncomfortable, provocative scene. Brain Damage has one, but I feel like that one, for some reason, that one feels a little different. It's played for laughs, whereas this one's like a tragedy. And I don't necessarily know if all of it is necessary, and I hate saying that because like it's art, blah blah blah. Like, I don't know. For me, like, it just sours the movie just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I do think it's necessary for the story that they're telling, and almost like the two sides of man, like the good, the evil.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
The primal side versus the more developed side. I think that he's playing with a lot of themes in Basket Case of all different types, and maybe all of them don't work, but I think they're at least being presented and they're making you think for a movie that's like, I mean, maybe people don't talk about that enough with Basket Case. Everybody talks about, oh, this movie's crazy, it's zany, like Belial's a crazy character, and yeah, he is. But it's also like there's some thoughtfulness put into this movie. There's stuff that's gonna make you think by the end of it. Same with Brain Damage also has that of like that one's kind of more straightforward and making you think about it, and it's literally spelled out in the movie.
There's very much less subtlety in Brain Damage for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing for Frankenhooker, where it does deal with like heavy things that, like involving like gender, body dysphoria, that kind of thing. But it also is like very much a gag a minute kind of thing and not subtle about any of it at all.
Yeah.
Like, and so this one, to me, Basket Case is maybe a more nuanced movie than those other two. But like, I don't know. Maybe that's what, I don't know. This one, like,
it was a movie. It was a movie made on a $35,000 budget, is what I looked up, which
is incredible.
Nothing. Shot on 16 millimeter, blown up to 35 when it was presented. I mean, there's a grainy quality to this. It's also very well shot, though. Like Frank Henenlotter he knows what he's doing behind the camera throughout this entire movie. Like, even though it is very, like we said, very low budget, and shot on 16. Like, this movie looks great, and the visuals in it all look at least believable. You buy everything that's going on in this world.
Oh yeah.
Like we said, the stop motion for Belial is a little clunky. Well, a lot of clunky, but it's like, it never takes you out of the vibe of the movie, and it never takes you out of like, this still isn't believable.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like, I mean, Belial is a clumsy character, and I feel like that's where like you get away with maybe the rougher stop motion or the cheesy like rubber hand effects. Is like, it kind of just feels like that's Belial in general. Like there's no real, it'd be different than say like the 2014 Godzilla with its immaculately crafted CGI monster. All of a sudden they were using like a rubber foot stomping, you know, when the whole thing's rubber and just like motion, like stop motion, it never breaks the illusion because that's what it is from the get-go, you know?
Yeah. And I think this movie does, I mean, it does a good job of like not showing him right away. But when it does,
it kind of teases you a little bit. Yeah.
It teases it. And then when it does show him, it's like, yeah, we're just going to keep showing him because that's the movie. That's the crazy part of this movie. You can see a lot of influence from in other horror movies because of this. And I think that's maybe the lasting legacy of Basket Case is the influence that this left on a lot of people. I mean, I think the big one that people have been referring to in the last couple of years is James Wan's Malignant, which 100% like
doesn't exist without Basket Case.
Yeah, it doesn't exist without Basket Case. And you can tell Wan is a fan of Basket Case and wanted to do his own spin on that.
He's like, but what if Basket Case was like the Matrix? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean there's probably so many other movies that we could throw out there that have some sort of relation or reference to Basket Case.
We haven't seen it yet, but the new appendage that just dropped on Hulu that we're both excited. We were talking with Blake about it in the group chat. I've heard that's very Henenlotter. And from the premise of that, I'm like, yeah, I could see that. I haven't watched a trailer. I haven't done anything. I'm so excited to go into that one blind.
Or like even like the revenge tale of like going back to the people who hurt you or harmed you. I mean, like,
look, Saw X.
Yeah. Yeah, like obviously that goes back to James Wan in the original Saw, like Yeah. I got some major like Saw, what was it, Saw 6, where he has like the doctors and stuff that and the insurance people.
Yep. Oh man. Yeah, that movie's brutal. It's great.
Yeah. The Basket Case though, so like at the main core of this movie, I mean it's a tragedy in the end. There's a love story that's built between Dwayne and the receptionist of one of the doctors.
Yep.
And it's not like, oh my God, this is Romeo and Juliet and anything like that, or the acting is like anything to write home about, but it's believable. In fact,
it progresses pretty fast.
Oh,
for what it is. Like, but I've never been bothered by that because it's like, you don't go to movies to like watch people slowly fall in love.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you want to see them meet, and then the next scene, they're like, they would die for each other, you know, like just get to the good stuff.
Get to the not seeing the sights of New York and just making out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we get the flashback which is arguably my favorite part of this movie.
The flashback. So this is only the second time I've seen this movie. I forgot how much of it is flashback.
Yeah.
I forgot how much the flashbacks took up. I agree. I think the flashbacks are like a very big highlight of this. It also gives all of it the like emotional gumption going forward.
Especially for a movie made on such a low budget to have like not only telling a story in chronological order in present day, but to go back 10, 15 years and tell like the origins of these characters and spend, I bet they spend a good 10 minutes in in that
Oh, yeah.
flashback
At least 10, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's the emotional crux of the movie of the parents have said, like, this is a monster. We only want our son Dwayne. We don't want Belial. We don't think that part of him is human at all.
Yeah.
And the doctors perform like this literally in-house surgery on him to remove the two. And they end up just throwing Belial in a garbage bag and throwing him out in the trash. And it's like, when I watched it this time, I legitimately got a little teary-eyed. It's like seeing the bag move and having Dwayne go out there to find his brother. Like,
it's really heartbreaking imagery. Like, because they don't show him like getting thrown in the garbage bag, right? No. That's the first time is when Dwayne goes out into the alley and you see the garbage bag move and you hear something from inside it. And it's just like, it makes you realize it with Dwayne. And it's like, oh shit, it's really, it's a heavy moment.
Yeah, totally works. The emotional beats of that are perfect.
Yeah.
And and you understand why then Dwayne and Belial all those years later go back after the doctors and their parent. I mean, they got their dad right away, but going after the doctors that did this to them, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of on your guys' side.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it's the tragedy of, okay, what happens when you take that too far?
Yeah, because Belial is clearly not very stable.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up...
I mean, he doesn't have legs, so no, he's not very stable.
Yeah, but he's got a pretty flat surface to just like lay on,
Maybe too flat, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, then you get the scene of him sneaking into the neighbor's apartment. And you think, I don't know, I think that's a great like masterclass in tension, because there's so many different aspects. I love the shot where she's undressing and she goes into the bathroom and the camera just stays on the bathroom door. You half expect her to like scream or like blood to spurt or something, and you're just waiting for that. And then she just comes out and she's changed. And it's like, oh my God. And it's just like, it's this release of tension and it gets you again. It's like, Henenlotter just rules its sequences like that. There are quite a few of these where like the Belial kill scenes are almost always a little surprising. Like they always keep you just a little bit off guard.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're gory as shit. I forgot how bloody this movie is.
Yeah, and it all looks great. Again, like,
yeah,
for such a low budget, like, it looks incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's not like super cheesy blood. I mean, it's movie like, blood, but it dark looks blood, really though. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not obscenely fake blood anyways. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just like the tearing of the face is just like such a great visual. I just, and it's nasty. I love it. I love it.
How do we talk about the scene? The scene. The like one where it's like,
the sexual assault.
We're not rooting for Belial anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like,
that's what it is. It was he sexually assaults Dwayne's girlfriend,
and then kills her.
And Dwayne walks in on that, and that's basically the beginning of the end for the two of them.
Mm-hmm. So I get why the scene's in the movie. Like I said, it's one of those things where like I just have a hard time watching that stuff in general. And I know that's like the point. It's supposed to be a very hard scene to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's weird. That scene just gives me the ick a little bit. Mm-hmm. That said,
that's what Henenlotter's going for. You're like, you should feel the ick. Yeah.
Yeah. That said, I do love that the dream sequence preceding this, like that leads into this, Dwayne's just running around full Johnson flapping in the wind, like
in New York.
I like, there's just, I don't know. I'm an equal full frontal opportunist. I'm like, yes, if you're going to do full frontal, Do it for everybody.
Dude hangs dong in this movie.
Yeah, dude hangs dong in this movie. So I appreciate that. And I think the whole thing's very well shot. I think the tension's there, especially because something's up. Like, that it's not just like, you can sense that it's not just a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going on there. Something's going on, and it's not good. And the reveal of it still doesn't lose the impact. Like, when the girlfriend wakes up and sees Belial, it's like, it's a real gut turn moment. Yeah. Like, ugh.
Mm-hmm. And again, especially because you've grown, I don't know if you grow like emotionally attached to her and Dwayne together, but it's like you understand that there's
something good there.
Something good, a relationship, something Dwayne has never experienced before.
He finally has someone aside from
his brother, is not, obviously by then we figure out, is not a good influence on him.
Yeah, it's a pretty, like, it's a toxic relationship.
Yeah,
like you understand Belial's pain, but exactly. It's messed up. Mm-hmm. It's necessary.
Yeah,
it's just like,
and then the tragedy of them both
falling out the
window at the end, and well, presumably dying. There's 2 more sequels, and he shows up in brain damage. But enough for this movie. We get the official ending of them both dying together, and kind of this poetic moment that they both. That's how they came into the world, and that's how they went out together.
Yep. Yeah, it does strike me as odd that this has 2 sequels, just because I'm like, I feel like the story was told.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that Henenlotter is the one that behind both of the sequels makes me think, I don't know. He probably, it's his movie. He can do whatever the hell he wants with it. So, it doesn't matter what I think. But it does give me a little bit more faith that they're not just like cash grabs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know if I could ever call anything Basket Case a cash grab.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not like it was a big box office hit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Sam, what would you give it out of 5? 5 screams.
It's a 5 scream for you?
No, 4. I give it 4.5 screams. It's close.
Okay, I give it 4 screams. I really love this movie. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a 5-star territory for me. And I think it's because, like, this isn't the one that when I want a Frank Henenlotter movie, this isn't the one I throw on. I throw on Frankenhooker or Brain Damage before this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I still love this movie. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think Henenlotter's just, I think he's director of, well, maybe not of all time, but he's one of them. He's on the mount. He's on the mount.
You cut out there.
Oh, I cut out. I said, I think he's one of the greatest B-movie directors of all time. Like,
oh yeah,
for me, he'd be on the Mount Rushmore of B-movie filmmakers.
That's a good episode. We should do.
That is a good episode. We should.
I already know one of mine, and because I've said he's the greatest B-movie director ever, but
yeah, I think we'd have different ones. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Kevin. How do you say Kevin's last name? Kevin Van Heidenreich?
I don't know.
The main character of this movie. Shout
the
out
actor?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Heidenreich? Van Heidenreich. That sounds right.
Heidenreich?
Either way, shout out to him for being the long lost 4th Brady brother in this movie.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right, let's move on to a movie that's apparently in universe with Basket Case, 1988's Brain Damage. Sam,
yeah.
What's the plot of Brain Damage?
So, Brain Damage is about a young man who goes to sleep one night and wakes up with a little demonic turd parasite thing named Elmer attached to him.
Mm-hmm.
That feeds him juice and makes him super happy and high. and then eats people's brains while he's high. Elmer is very, very, very phallic shaped, and he speaks like a Rankin Bass character.
Hello.
And it's a very on the nose metaphor for, I mean, drugs. Like drug addiction, any kind of addiction, really. Like it's an addiction metaphor.
It's a straight up drug addiction metaphor. It says so in the movie.
Like, oh yeah,
there's 100%. No hiding what this movie's about.
So it's that's brain damage. I mean, so he's got this parasite attached to him that gets him high as long as he keeps feeding him brains. And there's like a crazy old couple that used to hold him hostage. There's a bunch of new characters that just get their brains sucked out. Some in very unsavory ways.
One especially.
This is a wild movie. Let's talk a little bit about how we watched it this time. We went and saw it late night at the State. Late nights at the State are always a good time. The lighting was super cool. The brain damage title card projected onto the screen with the lightning. Yeah, so much fun. There's just a good energy in the theater. We got to, pretty much the whole movie group was there. We got to talk to everybody. The
South Dakota movie crew shows up for Henenlotter.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I never in my wildest dreams thought within we're in the third full year of the State Theater in Sioux Falls, South Dakota being open. They've been crushing it with so many out of the box picks, and I was still like, we're not getting Henenlotter for a while. Like that's too crazy. And then we get brain damage.
Yeah.
And watching it in the theater was quite the experience of like, this is wild watching a Frank Henenlotter movie in 2023 in a pretty damn packed movie theater with a lot of people. From what I understood, I mean, we were about as close as you could get to the screen, but from what I could see, just kind of around us, a lot of first time watches for brain damage too.
Yep. Oh, a lot of them. I mean, a lot of the people from our group hadn't even seen it yet. Like there were some first time watches that we knew of. And I don't know. I guess like you said, I just never expected this movie would play on a big screen in South Dakota ever. And if it did, I did not expect that it would be a crowd like this. And I just think it goes to show like late nights at the State have kind of become something that like people just turn up for.
Yeah.
They're cool events.
Sometimes you just turn up to fall asleep at them too. I mean,
yes, which we definitely had those.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to admit, I was having a hard time. Like I was like tickling the roof of my mouth with my tongue, like doing all the tricks.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Oh. I do it to help me stay awake.
That's what Elmer was doing to that lady too.
Just tickling the roof of her mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing with this movie. So I'd watched this. I've only seen this one other time. You and I are kind of on different ends of the spectrum on brain damage. I like brain damage. I don't love it like you do.
Yeah.
And I remember like the crazy parts, but I was like, why didn't I like love this movie? Like I love Basket Case and Frankenhooker. And it was, I think this time watching it kind of cemented that of like between the Elmer scenes of the crazy Henenlotter stuff, I'm kind of bored.
Really?
And I think the reason I'm bored, and I was kind of talking to Kayla about this, is the main guy in this movie. I don't even remember the guy's name. Brian is the guy's name. He's kind of a nothing character in this movie. Like we don't know who he is before he's drugged out. Really, he's just a guy who has a girlfriend and his roommate.
Yeah.
And the biggest difference is like in Frankenhooker, the main character, he's like he's trying to do his best Jeffrey Combs. Like that's 100% what he's doing.
He's like Jeffrey Combs. He's like Herbert West from Jersey.
Yeah. And he brings this kind of manic energy. And in Basket Case, Dwayne like is very much like a relatable character, and every man also has, like I said, he has a look to him. He's the fourth Brady brother.
Yeah.
Like you remember what he looks like. This guy, I can't remember anything about him. He's just generic white guy. And maybe if you had a different main actor, I don't think he's bad in the movie by any stretch. He's just not memorable. And maybe I think that's a big part of what's missing for me.
Okay.
Is like if we had some sort of character actor in the lead, like a Jeffrey Combs, I would probably vibe more with this movie. But the guy in the lead here just doesn't
work for you.
He works enough, but it's like the scenes between the crazy Elmer stuff. It's like I need a character actor to keep me engaged and like wanting to watch them, where he just doesn't have that. Where it's like I'm just waiting for the next Elmer scene.
I get that.
And that's not me hating this movie. I like this movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, I highly recommend everyone watch Brain Damage. It's one of the most bonkers, crazy movies you'll see. And I don't know, just for me, why it doesn't like go to that next level like the other Henenlotters do. And I think that's a big reason why. But the stuff with like Elmer is arguably the best of like Henenlotter's filmography.
I love every Elmer scene. Every Elmer scene is like top notch.
Great horror comedy. Great effects too. Like
like
I think it's the best Henenlotter effects that he has.
Oh yeah, because like I mean Frankenhooker, he's just essentially using like he's using mannequins. He's using painted mannequins,
and you straight up notice that they're mannequins.
Yeah. He doesn't even try to hide that they're mannequins. Going back to Brian as like a nothing character.
Brian,
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that he is a nothing character. I think it's by design. And I understand why that choice might not be the right one for this movie. Especially because, like, yes, we don't see him before addiction. So, like, all we see is the addict, which is tough. Because even in something like Requiem for a Dream, which is like just this... Requiem for a Dream is just... Yeah. This movie, Requiem for a Dream, is just Oscar bait Brain Damage. Like, let's be honest. But you kind of get it shows you the characters in addiction, but you also get a little bit of the outside of it too.
It's a character study.
Yeah. And whereas there's not like character in this because Henenlotter's like, well, wouldn't you rather just watch this phallic parasite eat brains? Yeah.
And that's kind of the crazy thing, because Basket Case is a character study.
Oh,
Frankenhooker, I don't know if I would say it's a character study. It at least has like
it's more of a study on
you latch onto
society.
Yeah.
And like gender, like sexuality and gender. Like it's more of a study on theme rather than character, I feel like.
But when the crazy stuff happens to those characters in Frankenhooker, you're like, I understand who you guys were before.
Yes.
And when this crazy stuff happens, I understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
Here it's just, he kind of just accepts that Elmer's a part of him now.
Yeah. It happens fast. It's just the one time. It's just the one time, Casey.
All it takes.
They've always told me if I smoked one cigarette, I'd be a chain smoker for life. Well, I've smoked at least like 6 cigarettes, and I still haven't picked up the habit. So.
Meth, not even once, Sam.
Not even once. Yeah, you just have to smell that. You just have to like sniff it, and you lose like 3 teeth.
And a giant phallic monster comes out of your neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, the effects for Elmer look incredible, though. That is obviously the selling point of the movie, but it looks incredible. Like when his mouth like separates and like slides down, and you have all the little like tentacles almost
and then
coming
one pincer coming out. Like it's like, oh god, it's gnarly. Like the wound in the back. It's such a simple practical effect, but just that little bit of makeup in the back of his neck just like gives me the heebies. I'm like, oh no. It's so anybody with like a needle thing, I imagine this movie is like very squirm inducing.
The big scene in this movie where Elmer attacks a woman by going in her mouth
through the throat, yes,
is one of the most shocking scenes of this movie and probably any movie that it will ever play at the State Theater for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think the crowd knew what to expect with that. So we were losing our minds.
I mean, because like, well, we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. The atmosphere changed during that scene.
Yeah. I think everyone was having fun, and especially like the biggest laugh I heard was when Elmer first speaks. Like that's, I mean, obviously going to get a huge
and
laugh.
It was a delayed laugh too. Like no one was expecting that. Like everybody, and I think Steven even called it out. Like the first time he speaks, like that's going to be a big one, I think. And like, and it was so funny because he talked and I still don't feel like anybody expected it because it was just like, there was like this moment of silence. You and I chuckled and then everybody else started laughing.
But yeah, you're 100% right. When that scene happens, the vibe changed in the room. And I don't know.
It divided it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think everybody was vibing with the movie afterwards. And maybe that for me didn't help my further enjoyment. Cause I like the movie and I'm not offended by any means by that scene. I think it's a really, really funny scene. But not everybody thinks that's funny.
And I understand why. Like 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
But the tone in the room changed at that point.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it is the most heinous act committed in the movie. The imagery is like undeniable. You know, like, I mean, it's not subtle at all.
No.
And like, it's clearly meant to be a turning point in the movie too, because after that, like everything pretty much starts going downhill. You know what I mean? Like, in addiction, that's rock bottom. You know what I mean? Like, and so I feel like that it leads into the second half of the movie in a really like. So yeah, like I say, this movie's more fun than Basket Case. And I do agree with that because throughout, like even post that, you've got him arguing with Elmer. And like you've got the stop motion effects of him like dodging the lamp getting thrown at him and stuff. And it's just funny. But like it's so schlocky and dumb and goofy. But it never forgets the fact that it is an addiction story. And so like I feel like I guess like I could see someone watching this movie and feeling the same way that I feel about House, where I'm like, yeah, I vibe with part of this, but then it just goes to like this real place that just takes me out, you know? Because I feel like this movie does that too.
Yeah, I don't think House has some tonal whiplash. I like that movie a lot, but it does have some tonal whiplash. This movie, I think less so because you're introduced like right away with what the tone of this movie is going to be. It's going to be about addiction, but it's also going to be about this monster that comes out of your neck, you know?
Because I mean, the opening scene is actually pretty harrowing. You've got like the old couple looking for their stash, essentially, realizing they don't have it, having a mental breakdown, and then the last shot before you go to like title cards is them laying on the ground frothing at the mouth. Like it's dark, you know, like, and then it goes into, you know, the Brian stuff, and not 5 minutes later, Elmer's popping up and talking like, you know, Santa Claus from Rudolph. And So yeah, I don't know. It's
again, like the ending too. Like we're not going to spoil anything, but the ending is addiction wins. Like
addiction wins, and he's like, I mean, you're screwed. Well, and I was reading up about this one too because I just find this movie fascinating. I think it's like a very on the nose metaphor for addiction, but I think it's an effective one. Like no one goes into Requiem for a Dream and they're like, oh, it was a little too on the nose. Well, like, yeah, no shit. It's a movie about drug addiction. Brain Damage is a movie about drug addiction. I like the idea that Henenlotter that Henenlotter's glorifying any of this, that he's like making light of it, or that this movie is like pro drug, because there are people that think this movie is pro drug. I'm like, what part of this movie is pro drug? He loses everything. He loses his relationship with his brother. He loses his girlfriend horrifically. Like that train sequence is heartbreaking. You know, like it's like this is a tragedy, just like Basket Case. And people who say this movie is pro drug have no media literacy.
Yeah,
like that's insane.
I don't agree with that at all.
That's insane to me.
I mean, the end of the movie is 100% like, don't do this because this will happen to you.
Yeah, it's like, and the final image is so iconic too. Like, I feel like I'd seen the final image before I ever saw this movie. Like when that happened, I was like,
well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the posters is that.
Well, yeah, that's true.
That image.
So maybe that was what it was. But yeah, it just, I don't know. I really like this movie, and I think I like it because to me it mixes the comedy and the like real emotional, like it does it a little bit better than Basket Case does. Like I feel like the tone of this is a little more assured than Basket Case, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It is definitely leans more into that horror comedy vibe than Basket Case does.
Yeah,
it does better with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of an inherently more funny movie, whether intentional or not, with like Elmer, especially for what he's like a metaphor for.
Yeah. He's the funniest heroin needle ever.
Sam, what's your scream count on this?
This one's a 5 scream for me. I really love this one. Like, and it was, I remember finishing this the first time and giving it 5 screams. And even like, I think I might have messaged you and Blake and I was like, Brain Damage is my favorite Henenlotter movie. Like, this movie's incredible. And you guys were both shocked that it overtook Frankenhooker.
Yeah, I'm still shocked.
To be fair, I am a little shocked that I like it more than Frankenhooker, but I do. Like, there's something about this movie. I was so, like, I would have been happy with any Henenlotter playing at the State, but when I found out it was this one, I was so freaking pumped. Like, I can't believe I got to see Brain Damage and Chopping Mall at the State Theater within a year of each other. That's insane to me.
Sam is in heaven.
I am. And I saw the Lost Boys too. Like they're checking off. I can't wait. I can't wait for Bride of Chucky.
And then Christine.
Yes. Oh my God. When they play Christine, I hope that's not just a late night. I hope they do multiple ones because I'll be at every single one. That'll be the one where I'm like with Derek in the back row, like all 3 screenings.
what like famous horror directors have they not done at the State Theater here?
Like, are you talking just at all?
At all.
Okay. Because I was like, I mean, they haven't done the only director series that I would say was horror was Hitchcock. And that's even more thriller than horror.
No, just like playing one of their movies. I mean, even just recently, we've gotten a Fulci. We got the Beyond. We got a Stuart Gordon with Reanimator, Henenlotter, Brain Damage.
They've even played a lot of like the modern masters. Like a lot of the
has the James Wan movie ever played the State Theater? I don't think
so. Mm-hmm. Dead silence. It's your turn. It's your time to shine.
It's your time to shine.
If they played Dead Silence, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah.
But play the tongue cut.
Release the tongue cut.
Release the tongue cut.
Yeah, that's probably like the one I can think of off the top of my head.
James Wan. Yeah. Because the only other ones he's done are like the big studio, like Furious 7 or Aquaman, and they haven't played those to my knowledge.
No. Or the Conjurings or Insidious and
yeah.
Death Sentence.
Kevin Bacon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be the big one. It's got to
be, yeah, that's the big one.
That at least we can think of.
Oh, speaking of Reanimator and Stuart Gordon, I just want to show off my cavity color shirt. Look at this. Isn't this dope?
It is.
So I bought
Who's going to believe a talking head?
I ordered this like a week and a half before the Reanimator late night. And the day I ordered it, later that day, Cavity Colors posted that they were moving warehouses. And I was like, I'm not getting this shirt by the late night. And I didn't. But now I have it and I love it. And I've been wearing it so much because I just love it. So I didn't get to wear it to Reanimator at the state,
but you wore it here.
When they play Bride of Reanimator, I'll have a shirt.
Mm-hmm. Or From Beyond.
Or just any Robot Jocks.
Mm-hmm. Castle Freak.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's so many Gordon movies that I would love to see at the state.
Dolls.
I still haven't seen Dolls.
Anyway.
All right.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. Sorry, we just went on a tangent.
We went on a Stuart Gordon tangent.
Yep.
Sam, where can people listen to this podcast? I mean, they're listening to it right now, but where else can they listen to it?
Well, every other Friday, we drop these on your favorite podcast platform. We are on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. We also drop...
What? Tom, you... What?
Tom! What? No!
I gotta pull this up here. Tom, you are a madman. Tom says, Robot Jocks, man, just saw that recently. It was real bad.
Casey loves that movie. I haven't seen it. Full disclosure, I haven't seen it. But
that's so funny. Stuart Gordon movie for me. That movie rules.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Oh, Tom, you're killing me.
We'll always have basket case, Tom.
Robot Jocks rules. Anyway, where can people find us on social media?
You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Just search Screams from the Basement. We're on everywhere. You can find us. It'll be fun.
You can find us. You can probably find me yelling at Tom at some point after this. What's up?
A couple other quick shout outs I want to give. Yeah. Our buddy John Runyon is launching Comics by Night in about 6 minutes on his Facebook page. So go to Comics by Night.
8 or 9? 8.
I think he said 8. I think so. Oh, maybe it's 9.
Someone correct us. Tom, correct us if we're wrong.
Either way, go over to the Comics by Night page after this. If he's not starting at 8, it'll at least have when he's gonna start.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be a really. Oh, he is starting at 9.
9. Okay. We got time.
We've got time. Okay. Cool. I can grab some snackage beforehand then.
Yes.
Sweet. So yeah, go over to Comics by Night at 9. Our buddy Andy Heller is back in Taco Bout season. He is. Yep. Yeah, our buddy Andy, he's back in Talk About season. He's got a big lineup for October, all of horror movies. I think all first-time guests. And if you've never listened to a Talk About, not all
first-time guests. I know one that he had. No, I'm not.
Oh, I was like, no, I want to be on it. You've got 3 episodes.
I do know Andy's favorite horror movie ever will be discussed.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So,
okay.
Yeah, go check out Fat Dude Digs Flicks. He's doing, I think he said 6 episodes, I think.
Yeah, there's 6 in October. Yeah. It'll be cool. I saw Phantom of the Paradise on there. I have a feeling I know who the guest is on that one.
I know who the guest is.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What up, Seth Benson?
What up? So, yeah, check those out. Always check out Screams from the Basement. We've got our TeePublic store if you want some cool merch and swag. I keep talking about I promise I'm going to have a Halloween design up before Halloween. Otherwise, that'd be a really big waste of a Halloween design.
You should draw our faces as pumpkins or something like that.
Ooh, that would be fun. Yeah. That would be fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I have one more shout out to throw out there.
Okay.
We got a shout out to our interview that we just dropped this past Friday with filmmaker Brandon Christensen, who just released his new, or is going to be releasing, if you're listening to this on Friday the 13th, his new latest Shudder original film, The Puppet Man. We talked to him about the movie for about 45 minutes. About the filmmaking process. He broke down in an entire kill sequence for us. And so, like, if you've ever wanted to hear some behind the scenes on a amazing kill sequence and how to do it practically, like, that's the episode to listen to. Great interview, great chat with Brandon. Go check it out.
Yeah, go check out the interview and watch The Puppet Man Friday, the 13th. Yeah, it's it'll be on Shudder. Yeah, God, I almost forgot to plug that. That was such a good interview. Humble brag, it was probably one of the best interviews we've done.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was awesome. We love Brandon. We hope to have him back again. So, yep.
And next time we're going to be back in 2 weeks. We are doing a full-on Halloween spooky episode. We are bringing back, for the first time on this show, ever, the one, the only, Blakenstein Guinness. And Blake will be here, our former co-host on Slashlight. We're talking about, I mean, all three of us have different names for what we call these. I call them pumpkin spice horror movies. He calls them crunchy leaf horror movies. What do you call?
I'm just going to be like, 3 movies that get me into the Halloween spirit. Like, it doesn't roll off the tongue, but I'm like, I'm not going to, you do your Spice Girl, pumpkin, whatever, fall latte, crunch leaf, and I will pick 3 movies
that get you in the Halloween spirit.
That are just there. They're in the Halloween spirit. I'm excited. Spoiler alert, if you look at my Letterboxd and look at what I didn't talk about, you might, on recent watches, you might already know one of mine.
Halloween Town 2, Calabar's
There you go. Yep.
All right, Sam, let's wrap this thing up here. Do we have anything else to throw out there? I don't think so. Hey, we're going to be at Halloween-a-Palooza. Like, if you're listening to this on Friday, that's where we're going to be at.
Yeah.
We did a whole episode on that. So
we're excited. We have I think we're recording the live podcast that we're doing.
Yeah, we're doing a live podcast there. We are ranking all of the Friday the 13th movies.
Competitive collaboratively.
Yes. Killer Countdown style.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun. Can't wait for the final chapters. End up number 1. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Hey, we're going to give a little shout out here at the end to our friends over at the Prescribed Films Podcast Network who are putting together Halloween-a-Palooza. Hey, we're all connected. That's how this works. It's like the Marvel Universe, but not terrible. All right, Sam, let's wrap this thing up.
This is the Midwest wrap-up. Well,
we're going to keep talking. Okay,
sweet.
Bye.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.